The Ministry of Strategic Affairs started back in October 2009. As a matter of fact, it was established in May or March, somewhere between March and May 2009. In October 2009, we started looking at this issue of the Palestinian incitement. Now, one can say, what has the Ministry of Strategic Affairs to do with the following of Palestinian incitement, which is really a tactical issue, one may argue. But we thought, and we still are very much convinced, that the most strategic problem Israel has is the fact that our neighbors refuse to accept our right to exist here as the nation state of the Jewish people, and that they consider terrorism as a legitimate tool with which they can promote their interests. Even if sometimes they don't think it's the best idea to use it at a specific moment, they believe that it is a legitimate tool. And learning the lessons of the Jewish people and the way delegitimization, the way incitement for hatred was used in order to almost destroy the Jewish people, we are convinced that the issue of incitement and building a culture of peace is the most strategic issue Israel is coping with. And it has to do with delegitimization elsewhere, and it has to do with the way the Palestinians develop their concept of what is Israel. And that's why we decided to take upon ourselves this almost impossible mission, because between us, to try to quantify something that is not quantified is always a tricky issue. And nevertheless, we decided to take it upon ourselves. And we have developed something that's called the Incitement and Culture of Peace Index, that is supposed to help us follow the way the Palestinians think about and behave in these domains. Our objective was to use the index as a professional but also transparent tool so that everybody can know why we say what we say. That's a very important issue when you deal with an index. And to methodically track the levels of incitement and peace culture building in the Palestinian Authority in order to encourage the Palestinians to advance a culture of peace. So basically we're doing it in order to present it to the Palestinians and tell them, listen, you have to improve here, you're doing well there, because if you want to have peace, you got to change several things that this index is following and covering. I must say that I discussed this index several times with Palestinians, and they always agreed with me that everything that's in here is correct. They have a lot of complaints about the Israeli incitement, things like that. They try to make a comparison, but they don't question anything that is being presented here. I mean, those that I spoke with, might be some others. We look, when we do that, at 4 kinds of incitement and peace-building domains. The first is explicit incitement to violence and terror. If somebody says we have to kill the Jews now, that's explicit incitement to violence and terror. Itbach el-Yahud. Of course, this is a phenomenon that is less evident in these recent years when we look at the Palestinian Authority. But you'll be surprised as to how many expressions of this kind of problem are there, even these days. The second element we follow is the encouragement of an atmosphere of violence and terror. When somebody says terrorism is legitimate, or calls a square after a terrorist, or hugs the terrorists that are released from Israeli jails, and says that I expect also Bassam Saed to come out and Ibrahim Hamed to come out because they are heroes, that's encouragement of an atmosphere of violence and terror. Unlike the first index, this index is all the time pretty high. And the encouragement of this atmosphere goes on day in, day out. The third index that we are following is the one that deals with incitement to hatred and demonization. This is a very basic element in incitement, because if you want to justify in terrorism, you have to say that the terrorism is being, or use of violence against these people is being done because these people do not deserve any other treatment but violence. And because of that, it's also something that is very intensive in the Palestinian Authority. And the fourth is the issue of preparation of the public for peace or for the continuation of the conflict. And unfortunately, this is one of the domains that is, has the worst numbers when we follow this index, because frankly speaking, there is no preparation of the public for peace in the Palestinian Authority, and what they're dealing with is preparing the public for the continuation of the conflict. And even when they say, let's accept an arrangement that would be what they call end of conflict, it's still based on not accepting Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people, still is based on believing that eventually someday Haifa will again be Palestinian. So peace is something temporary, an arrangement is something temporary until justice is being done and Haifa becomes Palestinian again. In order to measure it, we look at 8 subjects. And each of these 4 indexes, we look at 8 subjects. We look at what the chairman of the PA is saying or doing. We look at what other PA and Fatah officials are saying. We look at the education, the curricula. We look at the religious messages. Today, by the way, the religious messages, because of the fear from Hamas, there is a relatively strict control of religious messages, and you find less inciting religious messages that you would have found until 2006. We look at the media. You know that the Palestinian media is pretty much controlled by the authorities, so when we look at what the media is saying, it's not that we are looking at a society who has a freedom of speech and freedom of journalism. We look at official documents. We look at the contents in the internet. We don't do that enough, I'm afraid. And we look at the Palestinian culture, or I would say the mainstream culture. We don't look at all kinds of radical expressions. And we give each one of them a different weight based on the importance of each of these domains in the different indices. And we develop a numerical value in each category that reflects our appreciation of the relative importance and weight that has to be given to these topics according to the criteria that you can see on the screen. As I said, it's done with full transparency. If anybody wants to know what are we basing our numerical expression on, everybody can see that. And we follow only the Palestinian Authority. We don't follow Hamas in Gaza or the diaspora. We follow only the Palestinian Authority, what's happening in the areas under Palestinian control, under Palestinian Authority control. We do it with a team that we have in the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, and we do it with full cooperation with representatives of the relevant security bodies who provide us with the information, and also some other organizations that provide us with the necessary information that we can base our assessment on. We take the 4 indices and we put them together in one comprehensive index. And you can see here the different weights we give to each one of them in the overall index. 30% to those dealing with terrorism, 20% for those dealing with softer issues. That's the way we do it. One can debate on that, and that's arbitrary, the way we decided. And each of the 4 issues, we have a graph that looks like that. It goes between -10 to +10, and each of the 8 issues under each of the indices. And if somebody's doing something that promotes peace, they can be in the green. And in this specific example, you don't see anything in the green, but it doesn't mean. There are cases in which we have things in the green. So there are green, there is a green area and there is the red area. Unfortunately, on most issues, we are in the red area. Our target is to see the Palestinians all having +10 on all issues. Unfortunately, we are not there at this point. And we collect this information on a quarterly basis, prepared on a quarterly basis. So far, we have developed 7 such indices, and we are just about to produce the 8th one. I'll come in a minute to say what we have learned from all of this process, but I just want to share with you some of the data we have that we have to evaluate when we make this index. For example, when we look at the explicit incitement to violence and terror, this is not going to work, but because we are not connected to the internet here. But if you look, for example, into this Fatah related website, and you enter the chapter called Al-Asifa, which is the military forces of Fatah, you will hear this wonderful song that some people can help me singing it. It goes, El-Maut, El-Maut, El-Maut li-Israel, El-Maut, El-Maut, El-Maut li-Israel. And you can see a group of terrorists preparing an explosive device, and finally they converge the El-Maut li-Israel and the explosion of the side bomb happened together, and everybody is happy. This is Fatah, to remind you. It's not Hamas or Islamic Jihad. By the way, the same song is also used by Hezbollah. It's not a song that Fatah invented, they just use it. This, for example, is a poster summarizing a doctoral thesis that was prepared in the Al-Quds Open University and was given a lot of publicity in the Ma'an news agency, which is not owned by the Palestinian Authority, but is operating from the Palestinian Authority with the blessing of the Palestinian Authority, and is a mainstream news agency. And this thesis that is now going to be also published as a book, if anybody wants to read about it, justifies the suicide bombings and says that it is not logical, as you can see in the end, it is not logical to demand from the Palestinian people to stop the resistance and the martyrdom operations. So actually, as I said, it's telling you that you have to do it right now, not tomorrow. This is another, I hope the volume is working, so here you will be also able to hear the song because it's not taken directly from the internet. This is a song that a girl is singing to her uncle in one of the PA shows dedicated to prisoners. And he's an Islamic Jihad terrorist, but it is under Palestinian Authority TV station. I hope it's my friend Itamar is responsible for collecting some of this information. So this is from the Palestinian Media Watch.
لما نستشهد من روح الجنة لما نستشهد من روح الجنة لا تقول علينا صغار من هالعيشة صرنا كبار من غير فلسطين شو يعني طفولة أطفال وقتات وفرض وسنة لا إله إلا الله والشهيد حبيب الله علمتونا شو معنى الرجولة لو يعطونا الدنيا وما لا ما تنسينا لا بلادي ودمي.
For the sake of standing in my time limits, I'll stop it here, but that's, I would say, a very clear message of this lady, girl. There's another very nice song that you have to see this. That's very good for keeping you awake. It's a good debka, speaking about the fact that you should always keep your weapon. You can't fall asleep with that. And, this is all a very clear message. I mean, I bring a few examples, there are plenty, just to make it clear that these are not anecdotes. I was not cherry picking. It is, there are plenty of these. You have to work hard in order to find them. These are excerpts from the textbooks. Again, jihad is justified and so life sacrifice. Today is the time, not tomorrow, to use the jihad idea. Again, same idea. And here's a nice example. Chairman Abbas, sorry, giving $2,000 to the family of a terrorist 2 weeks after he committed an attack. The Palestinians pay a lot of money to terrorists. You know, just now when they were released, each one of them got $5,000, and a promise to that the Palestinian Authority will build a house for every prisoner that was released. A lot of money goes to express the honor the Palestinian Authority has to those terrorists. But here this is being done only 2 weeks after the attack, so clearly it's a message that today is the right time to do it. It's not just to terrorists who carried out these operations a long time ago. An encouragement of an atmosphere of violence and terror. Again, this is the famous speech of Abbas when he received the terrorists. This is another interesting stuff. Prime Minister Fayyad was considered to be a very moderate person, but here you can see him as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In the morning, he praises two terrorists who carried out attacks very similar to a terror attack that happened during the noon of the same day that in the morning he praised them. So in the afternoon, he's already speaking against the attack and condemning it, harshly condemning it. You have to choose when he was speaking his mind out. A lot of stuff about the popular resistance as temporary replacement of extreme terror. This is also some sort of encouragement of terrorism and violence. Here's something that you can...
وللأسيرة الفلسطينية سناء إشحادي التي تقضي الآن عامها التاسع.
أنا معاك كده بدي أنشد لك أنشودة. أنا ليش وجودي وعدوي بأرض جدودي، بدي أدافع بدي أحارب بدي أحمل مدفع وبارودي، وبكرة لما يقوم الحرب لا يهمنا أنتم ولا غربي، وبكرة لما يقوم الحرب لا يهمنا أنتم ولا غربي، وإسرائيل رح تنزل درب وإسرائيل رح تنزل درب، وردك يا أرض رشدك يا أرض جدودي، ردك يا أرض جدودي.
This is a very important piece that I am very impressed with, because it tells you that these children, that I don't know what's in the curricula, but this is what they really study at school. Because you can see the rhythmics that go together with the singing. Clearly somebody taught them, they didn't invent this over there. So this is a clear issue, because a lot of stuff has been written about the fact that Palestinians are more cautious with their curricula. They're not, but even if they were, this is what they really teach at school. And that's very important to understand. Incitement to hatred and demonization, it's also another important subject. Let me show you this piece, really heart-touching.
שלא יסבך אותי כאן באפליה לטובה.
לא, אל תדאג, אני גומר תכף. עוד הדוגמה הזו, דוגמה אחת, 3 מילים בסוף.
اغتصبوا امرأتي قالوا ارحل حفروا في الوجه مغارة مروا على جسدي زرعوا في القلب رصاصة نصبوا لي الخيمة.
Stop here, but they use it on both sides. Here they claim that we raped their women. There are also claims that we don't rape their women and that we don't respect them enough to rape their women. So it's, demonization goes both ways. This is how we treat their prisoners. Yes, we iron them, we hang them, all kinds of terrible things. This is important to see how similar, they are not very creative. You can see from here how similar they are with their caricatures to the Der Stürmer. They took it from Der Stürmer as is, and they just changed minor changes. Here again, Der Stürmer and the Palestinian television. Very similar, same ideas, same logic. Let me move forward. About preparation of the public for peace. אני מגיע לזה, אל תדאג. This is the message the Palestinian Authority.
أنا من يافا، أنا من حيفا، أنا من عكا، أنا من الناصرة، أنا من جمزو، أنا من زكريا، أنا من عين كارم. أنت من وين؟ أنت من وين؟ Where are you from? طبعا أنت من أوكرانيا، طبعا أنت من ألمانيا، من بولندا، من روسيا، من إثيوبيا، فلاشة. لماذا سلبت وطني وأخذت مكاني؟ من فضلك ارجع على وطنك الأول علشان أرجع أنا على وطني الأول. هذا وطني، ارجع إلى وطني.
This is the message. It's Palestinian television. It's not Hamas television. It's the Palestinian television, Palestinian Authority television. Now, if we summarize all of that, because you see just to let you know that there are hundreds of examples. When we summarize all of that, these are the numbers we get on the 4 indices. On the explicit incitement to violence, it stands somewhere at around a little bit more than 10, or around 10, minus 10. Encouragement of an atmosphere of violence, it is somewhere between minus 40 to minus 50. and incitement to hatred around -40, and in not preparing the public for peace, again, somewhere between -35 to -50, or -50. That's the range where it moves. And each quarter we have enough stuff in order to come up with the same, more or less, results. The overall number is something around -32. That's where we stand. In spite of everything that we are telling the Palestinians, in spite of the fact that the Americans are speaking with them about it, in spite of the fact that some other people mentioned that to them, it never really changes. So what we can learn from that is that this index reflects the core components of the Palestinian narrative. Terrorism is a legitimate means for achieving the Palestinian goals. Even if at the present you should focus on popular resistance, it is legitimate, nevertheless. Israel is the epitome of evil, constantly plotting to harm the Palestinians, and the denial of any historical connection or legal rights of the Jewish people in the historical ancestral homeland of the Jewish people is a repeated theme in the Palestinian message to their own people. This is all in Arabic. In English, if you listen to them in English, it sounds quite different. And I think Itamar would speak about this difference. And I must say that different events that happen along the time have minimal impact on this message. It's always the same. So, in my mind...
Is it going to be today, Kuper?
In my mind, this is the most important problem of the peace process. This, for all of the things that you've seen here and you're going to probably see now, this is why we don't make progress on peace.